Good afternoon. My name is Dacry Roan, and my pronouns are she, hers. I sit on the Board of Governors at the Human Rights Campaign. I've lived here in Nashville with my parents, sister, grandparents, and now my own family for 35 years in this vibrant city of culture, music, and hospitality. It is a place that I'm so proud to call home. However, it is also here on these very grounds that extremist legislators are continuing to attack the very existence of the same community that has fought so hard for acceptance and dignity. Since 2015, Tennessee has passed the most anti-LGBTQ plus bills into law than any other state, 12 to be exact, seizing on any opportunity to promote misinformation and spread hate. And now efforts to restrict drag performers that we're here to discuss today are no different. They recycled attempts from years past to create false narratives surrounding LGBTQ plus people. The dangerous practice of banning LGBTQ plus events, spaces, and culture, including drag performances, is part of a large-scale attack on the LGBTQ plus community and an attempt to put LGBTQ plus people, particularly transgender and non-binary people, back in the closet and labeled as dangerous. No. Right. Nearly 1 in 5 of any type of hate crime is now motivated by the anti-LGBTQ plus bias, with reports of violence growing by the day. Whether it be white nationalists targeting pride events, bomb threats at children's hospitals, or Proud Boys crashing drag queen story hours with Proud Boys crashing drag queen story hours at local libraries, we are at a crisis point. And now we must ask ourselves, what type of discrimination will the state of Tennessee not write into law? We have the answer, and that's they will not stop unless we act. These lawmakers know that there's a difference between drag performance at a bar and age-appropriate drag appearances at libraries and parades, where my children have learned so many virtues that are fundamental to growing up. From creativity to authenticity to self-validation, I have firsthand seen the empowerment my children have experienced from this form of entertainment that has existed for cultures. We're here today to tell politicians that attacking LGBTQ plus culture, events, and spaces under the guise of protecting our children does nothing to address the real issues facing our youth.
Yeah!
Woo! We live in Tennessee, the home of Dolly Parton, who by her own example reflects the compassion and acceptance that I know our state is capable of presenting on the national stage. With this being said, I have a clear message to our lawmakers. The soul of Tennessee is at a crossroads, and the rest of our country is watching. Do we carry on as the most anti-LGBTQ plus state in America, or do we find the courage to create a Tennessee that will learn from its history and finally welcome inclusion? Thank you. I'm going to turn it over now to our local drag performer, Brittany Banks.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I am Brittany Banks, and I am a local drag entertainer here in Nashville. I am so honored to be part of the Have a Heart rally here today on Valentine's Day. But before I begin, can we give it up for the gown? Took a lot to be here in this, actually. But yes, this all came from my imagination. What is imagination? The Oxford American Dictionary defines it as the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. In drag queen terms, open up your mind and push yourself out of your comfort zone. Imagination helps boost social, emotional, creative, physical, linguistic, and cognitive development. Even our very own Dolly Parton knows how important using your imagination is, which is why she created the Imagination Library, to encourage creativity. She even went as far to say, "Good thing I was born a girl, otherwise I'd be a drag queen." I have always been a very creative person and love to play pretend. As a child, if I wasn't dancing around the house, I was playing with dolls, dressing up in my mom's clothes, or messing around with face paint, all without knowing anyone who was part of the LGBTQ plus community. It was just who I was and still am. Now, as an adult, I get to dance around and perform, create custom costumes, style wigs, and paint my face with as much makeup as I can put on it. Basically, I have become my own living doll with the help of my imagination. Drag allows us to bring out our inner child and be a kid again by utilizing imagination. Drag brings so much fulfillment to my life when I see the happiness and joy I bring to people of all ages. It allows people to escape the struggles of everyday life and use their imagination to transport them to a happier place. Drag is nothing to be scared of. It is pure theater and fun for everyone. I am an actor who has created their own character to share with the world. I want to encourage everyone to use their imagination and be whoever and whatever they want to be, while also learning how to accept others for their differences. I want to challenge each and every one of you here today to leave and use your imagination. Open your mind up to endless possibilities and spread love, not hate. Thank you so much. I would now like to introduce my great friend, Phil Cabucci, the founder of Inclusion Tennessee.
Thanks, Brittany. Give it up for that dress. Ah. Good afternoon. My name is Phil Cabucci, and I am the founder and executive director of Inclusion Tennessee. I am grateful to see all of your beautiful faces, those in drag and those without drag. It's beautiful to be here today. Just 8 short days ago, Governor Bill Lee stood behind me in this building and announced to Tennessee lawmakers that Tennessee was leading the nation, and he asked what future generations would say about Tennessee in 2023 and beyond. The answer is simple, Governor Lee. The people leading in the state legislature have simply lost touch with reality and have their priorities completely askew. Tennessee has the highest rates of instability in our foster care system in the country, and that isn't new. It's been that way since 2016. Tennessee also has an expanded Medicaid in this state when we have over 300,000 Tennesseans in great need. Talk about moral hypocrisy. In Tennessee, the educational attainment rate is in shambles. Teachers are not allowed to teach history or discuss the bad parts of it. The avoidance of truth of history does not make us stronger, not to mention the buffoonery in attacking the economic engine of our state in Nashville with bills that don't address real problems in our state. Governor Lee announced last week that the state is investing $100 million in anti-abortion centers, but still, we can't afford to offer pre-K to everyone in our state, nor can we pay teachers and state workers a fair wage. Yet, the very first bills that are filed in Tennessee this year are not bills that address foster care or education or health care. They were bills that attack our LGBTQ plus community, our vibrant, beautiful, diverse community that is filled with charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Bills that rip life-saving health care away from young people throughout our state whose families have worked with multiple doctors and therapists to move through appropriate and well-researched and studied modalities of care. Bills that attempt to take away First Amendment rights away from entertainers and performers, calling their form of art and entertainment prurient in nature, when we know that this is furthest from the truth. Honey, the truth is, drag is a multi-hyphenate art form, and it has been around for centuries. These attempts by legislators force us back into the closet, and they're the absolute antithesis of the Constitution that they all swore to uphold. Make no mistake, friends, these are bills that are no slippery slope. what they pass in this session are just a stair step in a race to the bottom. You have often heard about the anti-LGBTQ sentiment in bills in states like Florida and Texas. But as Daiquiri just said earlier, the truth is that Tennessee has passed the most anti-LGBTQ bills nationwide since 2015. And this has to stop. Enough is enough. As we come together on Valentine's Day, I asked Governor Lee, Speaker Sexton, Leader Lamberth, Senator Johnson, and many other elected officials who say they are creating these bills out of love and that they have researched what they are proposing with what I might add is nothing but data that has been refuted and disproven time and time again. What will future generations say about Tennessee when they look back on 2023? Governor Lee, you talk about your faith often. I implore you to look at your faith and the teachings of your faith. Are these bills part of the tenets of your faith? Are they compassionate? Do they love your neighbor? Do they help others? I assert here today that they do not. What would your Jesus do? It is not this. Governor Lee, stand up! Stand up to this hatred that is spewing from your legislature. Ask them to help Tennesseans instead of trying to ban, diminish, and repudiate us. Do something right. Today, friends, we are a guiding light in a moment of transformation for LGBTQ plus issues in our community. But we must fight with love, we must vote, we must show up, we must call, we must do everything that we can to stand up and say that this behavior from our elected officials is unacceptable and that there are real issues in our state that must be addressed. These are not partisan issues that divide. We have to be united. Friends, it is a time that we call for a new day and fight for the change that we so desperately need in our state with love. Our voices ring down through our ancestors of thousands of years. They give us strength to fight the battles ahead. We have wept in direct sunlight. We have lost monumental battles. But my dear friends, we are an army of lovers that will not fail. I got so into it. Please introduce Darren Johnson from Tennessee Equality Project.
Good afternoon. Come on now. I said good afternoon. Now take a moment and turn to your neighbor and thank them for being out here in this great community today. Turn to your neighbor. Thank you. Thank you each for being here today. Fantastic. It is so great to see each and every one of you out here. It is great to be among you this afternoon. But I have to say, I have to admit that I was feeling a bit nervous about doing this. So I came down here, right here, early the other morning, simply to take in this space, just to try to feel a little bit more ease and at home. I have to admit, though, that didn't exactly work as planned. For when I first climbed up these steps and stood up here and looked across the plaza, I felt the power and expanse of this place, but I quickly found myself worried. How might my presence be read here today? How might my appearance be policed should the laws pass that are now being debated come July 1st? So I tried to hit the reset button, hoping I might feel a little better if I took in a different vantage point I walked over to stand under the somber columns of the War Memorial. But standing between those, though, I couldn't help wondering how, or even if, the message engraved across its frieze still applied. Are the principles that gave America birth allowed to still offer something to me, to my drag siblings, to my trans and gender divine family? Or as we speak, are others assiduously striving to strip us of the happiness and peace that were supposed to be those principles' fruits? However, as I started to really question this whole field trip down here, I turned and remembered that this plaza, those words, this space, is where our lives too are born, where we find and lift up each other. You see, I arrived here almost precisely 3 years ago, tentatively standing right down there on these steps on a February day to be anointed by friends, and friends soon to be, with glitter ashes on my forehead right at the beginning of Lent. I heard it spoken right here that glitter that was now on my forehead was a sign of the divine spark in each of us, and how it uniquely reflected the brilliance and beauty of transgender and queer folks here and elsewhere. And then, just a couple weeks later, my first time out anywhere ever was right here, having changed secretly in the back of my car into my brand new velvet jacket and my silver starry jumpsuit, and those, at the time, way too scarily tall black heels. I walked stumblingly up towards this plaza and down its stairs and into the welcome of a friend who knew that this moment was going to happen even before I did, telling me over and over, "You can do the hard thing." And with that, and slowly more assured, I did. And baby, look at us now. With such moments and people still present with us in this space, and even with a devil's buffet of bills trying to tell us otherwise, I say to each of you that you are seen and known as sparkling, divine creations. Yes, there is work to be done. The world is broken, and we ourselves are works in progress. Indeed, hope itself may seem hard to come by right now. However, I feel certain these are the moments. We are the people through which hope develops a steel backbone. Woo! And with this certainty of posture, I say to each and every one of us, to every legislator in the Capitol, we can do the hard thing. Yeah. We can speak truth to power. Woo! We can make the politically unexpedient, morally courageous decision. Yes. We can claim the principles engraved in this space, their happiness, their peace, their freedom to dance and wear and speak as we want as our own. Yeah. So I got one more question. Are you ready? I know I'm ready. I know Tennessee Equality Project remains ready. So let's take up this work and let's do this hard thing together. Yeah! Thank you. I have the pleasure of bringing up to the lectern here the great Molly Quinn, the Executive Director of Out Memphis, joining us today.
Good afternoon, y'all. It is an honor to stand before this state capitol and this undeniable community. My name is Molly Quinn. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve as the Executive Director of Out Memphis. We are the LGBTQ center based in Memphis and the longest running LGBTQ organization in the state. I have been back and forth to Nashville for the last month, collaborating with this amazing coalition behind me and in front of me. So I'm here today representing both my organization, but also my beloved hometown, and all of those in the Mid-South and West Tennessee who need our voices heard here at this Capitol. It is quite humbling to represent Memphis here on this stage. We are a predominantly Black city where over 7,000 people live with HIV, the vast majority of whom are African American. Memphis is also home to Tennessee's oldest and most vibrant LGBTQ community organizations. We are also home to the Evergreen Theater, where the first drag show in Tennessee took place in 1969 in the face of legal implications and at the threat of police brutality. Here at this state capitol, the vibrancy and the critical needs of my hometown are consistently underrepresented and disregarded. And trans, queer, and public health needs now are no exception. Laws like the drag ban coming here in Tennessee and across our nation are a long legacy of government efforts to target this community. This legislation harkens to historical measures to diminish LGBTQ+ people. We have fought this kind of censorship and hate for decades, and we are not afraid of this intimidation. I want to call today on our businesses, entertainers, and all of those who value and profit from free expression. Tennessee's drag ban weaponizes entertainment, one of our state's legacy exports and one of the things that makes Tennessee great. Instead of focusing on the devastating socioeconomic injustices that plague this state and my region in particular, our state leaders have chosen to target issues that serve only to inform us from the highest offices in this state that we're not welcome here. Well, to that, I'm proud to stand up here and remind us that we don't need anyone to tell us where we are welcome. We don't need them to tell us that we're valued or loved, because we already know that. We know that so wholly and fully that it terrifies them. They are leading a hate campaign against LGBTQIA+ people, weaponizing healthcare, entertainment, businesses, or education system to wield a war that has one goal: for queer and trans people to no longer exist. LGBTQ+ people find ourselves once again in the crosshairs of an aggressive and deadly campaign by social conservatives emboldened by extremists showing up in the highest offices in this country. What we face today is a singular assault on the dignity of all Americans. Today we stand in front of this state government, who are facing and debating and moving forward life-threatening decisions, from gun laws to reproductive access, trans healthcare, drag bans, defunding education, limiting Medicaid, to Tennessee's draconian HIV criminalization laws, to the reprehensible condition of our child welfare system. In times like these, I call upon the words of late trans rights activist Leslie Feinberg and remind you, my right to be me is tied with 1,000 threads to your right to be you. As I've said before, and I'll say again, our opponents are afraid of us because of how free we are. Today, I send my anger, my rage, my relentlessness to those who seek to see us disappear, but also I send my compassion, because I pity those who live without the ever-expanding definition of self and love that queer folks live by.
Right.
Because you see, public health is for everyone. Free expression is for everyone. Drag is for everyone. As many of you know, Out Memphis and many of our peers were recently defunded by this same statewide Republican efforts, bowing to the pressure of right-wing extremists and coming for HIV prevention. Once again, trading votes for our lives and our liberties. So I speak today not only to my state leaders, but to our trans youth in the rural parts of Tennessee, to the Black trans sex workers back home in Memphis, to our amazing drag communities in big cities and small cities, and to my fellow community leaders seeking for a guidepost. We will never stop fighting for you. Fighting with rage, with joy, with principle, and with compassion. Because if there is one thing that our queer legacy tells us, is that our existence cannot be regulated. Right. We are here today and we are everywhere. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here in Nashville. It is my pleasure to pass it over to Nashville drag performer Dee Dee.
Thank y'all. And I have to follow that. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm here to speak not only as a professional drag queen, but also a transgendered woman. For 25 years, I have been an entertainer in the art form of drag, and that is exactly what drag is, an art form. I am a native Tennessean from a small town back in East Tennessee. And as far back as I can remember, I always knew that I was a girl. So after I graduated high school and I started transitioning, after high school and I started transitioning, thank you. Thank you. I would like to say that it was harder decades ago when I started transitioning, but unfortunately, it has not gotten any easier because of the discrimination, disdain, and the high rate of transgendered murders throughout the country. This bill targeting drag entertainers will only add to the discrimination and hatred that I have had to face my whole adult life. 14 years ago, I was lucky enough to be hired at Play Dance Bar and come back home to Tennessee. Play is a wonderful place that welcomes everyone and celebrates the diversity in our staff and our customers. It has become a vital part of Nashville's tourism and entertainment scene. Our drag show is nationally and internationally known. We literally entertain thousands of people from all over the world every single week. And of course, we entertain our wonderful Nashville regulars. Moving home to Tennessee was such a blessing because my aging parents are now 80 and 75. So me living in Nashville, I get to spend time with them in their older years while my only sibling is living in Southeast Asia doing missionary work. So you see, even though I am a drag queen and I am transgendered, I'm also a Christian. So this bill and the way drag queen performers are being portrayed as obscene is very inaccurate and misguided. We are simply entertainers bringing joy to audiences who are celebrating milestones in their lives, such as birthdays, getting married, and anniversaries. Our LGBTQ plus community is a very diverse community, but the one thing that we all have in common is we are all a marginalized part of American population. And we are too often a target when all we want to do is be left alone just to live our lives. And bills like this one we face today reminds me of Jesus saying, "What you do to the least of these, you do to me." At At Play Dance Bar, I've had the privilege of sharing our stage with and entertaining famous entertainers such as Winona Judd, Leanne Rimes, Sam Smith, Crystal Gale, Kristen Chenoweth, Kelly and Ozzy Osbourne, TJ Osborne, Leanne Womack, and Kelly Clarkson, just to name a few. Because we have so many that share our venue. And just as recently as 2 weeks ago, Kelly Ballerini was there. I've had the honor of performing beside Dolly Parton in 2010, right over there at TPAC, for the world premiere opening of the Broadway musical 9 to 5. And my castmates at Play were featured in Rolling Stone beside Casey Musgraves. I've also been hired by several companies to do events at our convention center here in Nashville, as well as events at the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Hard Rock Cafe. So you see, drag is an important part of our state's economy. Yes. And it's provided me personally with a wonderful life here in Nashville. I'm currently putting myself through college. And I'm the owner of 2 properties here in Nashville that I pay taxes on those properties. So I contribute to our city just as much as any other Nashvilleian. And it's simply not right for my livelihood and job to be put in jeopardy for political purposes. And again, I just wanted to come here and speak to you fine folks, not only as a drag queen, but also a trans individual, to show that we are real people who have family that depend on us. And drag is and has always been a very important part of Music City's entertainment value. Thank you. And now, after all that, we're going to celebrate with a little music, so please make some noise for Morgan.
I don't have a lot to say other than what they're saying on this stage needs to ring louder on a national stage, because what's happening in Tennessee, unfortunately, is just a blueprint of the kind of hate that's going to happen and unfold over this country. I was born and raised in Nashville. I got my start doing plays in that building right there. I was so scared to come out when I lived here. I couldn't have run away faster. There's some people that are here from high school who have now blossomed into the beautiful creatures that you see up on this stage and in this plaza. The difference is I've moved back home. I'm never gonna stop fighting. I'm ready to be as loud as fucking hell. And this is my song and my prayer for all of you. It's called Pretend Rainbow. Pretend that there's a rainbow hanging over me. Happy can't be far now, as far as I can see. Yeah, I want it to be somewhere I believe, pretending there's a rainbow that's hanging over Tennessee. Let's go fight like hell.
Thank you all so much for being here. And now we're gonna march to one of our hearings, led by the great Fidelia and Gentry.
Hi everyone. Can everyone say gay? Gay! Can everyone say gay? Gay! Just a quick story. So many beautiful things have been set up here today. I'm from Nashville as well. When I was 15 years old, not even out of the closet, I stood on this exact path of sidewalk right here alongside my queer brothers and sisters and protested legislation then. And now 20 years later, we're doing the same thing. In the face of adversity, I want to remind you all that the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. So go out into the world and make beautiful art, live your life authentically, and spread love. Now let's march!